Hey guys, 5 a.m. video. Um, it's not minus $1 million degrees outside, so that's pretty nice. But today, I want to talk about something that's a real situation that happens to us as coaches when we're dealing with clients. But it goes a little bit, I was thinking about it, and I wanted to get more into like the psychology of what's going on when this happens. And this is a situation where um, it happens sometimes that a client or potential client contacts us and is really interested in training and making changes and stuff like that, and the conversation goes really well. And then when it comes time for commitment, agreeing on a training package, exchange of money, commitment to start date, sometimes you get ghosted by the client. Now, obviously, as coaches and we're business people and stuff like that, we're always concerned as what's going on there. And I was really looking into the psychology of it, because at the end of the day, I've trained thousands of people over the years, and I train people full time online and one-on-one in person. So I run into all kinds of scenarios, and you know at the end of the day, my big thing is I know how phenomenal this transformation process is and how it changes a life and opens up doors. And again, where I'm at and where I was, and the clients I work with that put all the work in and make those changes, and how much their lives have changed and progressed and transformed, and the level up that they're living now, it's phenomenal. And I say it over and over again, I really want this for people. I really want people to, to go through this and be on the other side and live at an exceptional level, because I've done it and I'm doing it, and it's become my purpose. So I'm very passionate about it, and it's life changing, and I'm fortunate to be able to be a person that has an effect like that with people and help them do that and lead them through it. So it's an honor, a privilege, and it's my purpose. So I always want to make sure that when I'm dealing with someone, that I understand the situation, I understand the person, and because I've been there and I walked in those broken shoes, I get it. So today I was doing some thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and a couple of scenarios have come up in the last couple of days: New Year's resolutions and all that bullshit. Where this is the year I'm going to do it, and you have a lot more conversations with potential clients, and then things go well, get started, everything happens, you're off to the races. But every once in a while, we get what we call ghosted, where things are like, yeah, I'm doing it, I can't wait, I'm excited, all right. So we do the final reach out to basically, all right, what's the package you want to go with? When do we start? The time, exchange of money, goods and services, and all that stuff, and crickets, right? Like nothing. Like the day before, they're all gung ho, then you send that message and you get zero. Then you wait a little longer, you get zero, and stuff like that. So obviously, something's going on, right? It's not your internet's not working. It's not like they don't get the message. They got the message. So delving into it more to try to understand it and understand the human nature aspect of it, and dealing with, we're trying to make the changes. We're not super strong. We're not confident. Our self-esteem isn't its best because we're overweight, we're broken, we're tired, so we want to fix it. So here's the reality of it, right? When we look at it, it becomes fear. It's fear on behalf of the person that wants to make that change, right? They know they need to make the change, they want to make the change, but fear is what's holding them back. And part of it is the identity threat. They like the idea of being someone who trains, but committing forces a deeper question. What if I try and I fail again? Because there's been a lot of failure, or else you wouldn't be in that situation where you're in a point where you want to make changes. And training just isn't an exercise. It threatens their self-image. Ghosting is safer than facing the possibility of confirming their own story. I never stick to anything. So rather than face that, it's easier to protect yourself and ghost. Second thing is money equals accountability. So it's not about the price. Paying means no excuses, someone is watching, and results, or lack of them, are visible. So money turns a fantasy into a contract with reality, and that scares people, right? It becomes real. Then there's the mirror problem. I talk about the mirror all the time. And now starting means the mirror stops lying. It starts showing what your food choices are. It starts showing what your effort is. It starts showing what consistency is or lack of, what the alcohol is doing, right? And it starts showing you the comfort habits. So training exposes where discipline is lacking, right? So ghosting lets them pretend that they're basically doing okay, right? Not facing some of the realities. Next thing you know, they were ready, now they're not ready, right? So they were motivated, now they're not ready. So motivation says, I want this. Readiness says, I'll reorganize my life for this. And this is where motivation is fleeting and fickle, right? Most people never cross that line. When motivation fades, usually within 24 to 72 hours, silence follows. And here's something that's crazy. Success is scarier than failure. And this one shocks a lot of people, because if it works, you no longer have that victim story because you're fixing it, right? It's not what happened to you, it's what you're doing to yourself, right? So you lose that personal dialogue and that crutch. And then people around you start to expect more from you because you're doing more, right? And you can't hide anymore. So that's the other thing about success, is that you're exposing yourself. And success removes the comfort of excuses, right? And that's uncomfortable, right? It feels very cold all of a sudden. Avoidance is a coping mechanism, right? Ghosting isn't disrespect, it's avoidance, right? Avoidance protects them, the person from shame, guilt, accountability, and change. These are all things that we have to face and deal with when we want to make a change, when we decide to step in to the chaos and start to do the work that needs to be done. There's a part of us that goes, I should have done this a long time ago, right? That kind of thing. So you have some guilt and you have some shame because you don't like where you're at and stuff. Very normal to feel that way, but it has to be faced if you're going to make the changes, and as a coach, we represent structure. Structure is terrifying to someone who lives in chaos, right? The devil, right? And here's the truth, especially for us coaches, we want clients who are ready to change. We don't want to force anybody to do anything. I know how phenomenal this will be. I know how life-changing it's going to be and how it's going to change things from day one. I fucking know it from personal experience and from dealing with clients who are doing it and have made phenomenal changes. My clients, online, in person, over the last couple of years, that have made phenomenal, unrecognizable changes to their lives in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? I know that, right? But here's the thing, right? When a client and the person is really ready, they're ready to lean into the discomfort. They're ready to respect the structure, and they're going to choose identity over emotion. They're going to choose who they're going to become versus how they feel about it, right? And again, at the end of the day, when you're ghosting, you're still negotiating with the old version of yourself. That's what's happening. You're still stuck in talks with that broken, person inside you that shouldn't be making the decisions, right? That kind of thing. And here's the other thing too, right? So what I have to understand, right, for me, because I'm a human, is that when this happens, right, they're not rejecting me, right? They're rejecting the version of themselves that this would require. Who they have to become this version is who they're rejecting, who they're ghosting. It's not me. I need to make sure I don't take it personally, right? And that's a bit of a burden for someone to carry, right? To understand that it's not my burden, it's their responsibility, right? That kind of thing, to make sure that they're ready to step up. So at the end of the day, right, it's always psychology. It's always in our head, right? The body follows the mind works with the body. It's that simple. So when someone is going through that, when they're ghosting the situation, when they're avoiding what has to be done, it's fear, it's doubt, it's discomfort, potential discomfort coming up, right? And that's really the reality of it and stuff. So if you're someone who relates to this, who's been doing this cycle where you're about to do something and at the last minute you bail, right? And at the last minute you talk yourself out of it and stuff like that, you are selling yourself short. You are succumbing to your fears. You're succumbing to thoughts and processes that aren't even most likely going to happen, but you're building them up. It's going to be so hard. I'm going to be so hungry. I'm going to do this. It's not going to be, right? It is going to be uncomfortable. There is some changes that have to happen. You need to become a different person. You need to face a lot of the old versions of you and the old thinking of you that need to be dealt with, right? And there is some guilt, there is some shame, there is some anger with that, 100%. But living in the avoidance, ghosting the situation, is the worst thing you can do, because all you're doing is prolonging pain, prolonging real discomfort, and holding yourself back from living a fucking phenomenal life, to holding yourself back from ascending and becoming who you really want to be deep down, right? But you've got to face that. You've got to step in that. You have to look into that fucking mirror and say, you know what? It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a little scary. And I have to shed this old version of me, because until you're ready to shed that old version of you, you're going to stay that version. And when you look in the mirror and you're true to yourself and you're being honest with what you're seeing, right? You're not happy. That's the reality of it, right? So as a coach, I totally understand it, right? I'm not taking it personal, right? I just really want people to get past that, because I know the phenomenal level of existence that's on the other side. And starts within days and weeks of the new process. So if you're stuck and you're ghosting, right? Face it, bite your fucking bottom lip, and step into it. Always feel like you can reach out and we can have a real, raw, and meaningful conversation so we can make some changes. I'll talk to you later.